Hey there, welcome to the Self-Worth Renaissance podcast. I am your host, Kirsten Van Wingerden, and I am a licensed mental health counselor here in Washington State. I'm so honored that you're tuning in and listening to this podcast. Please note that this therapy podcast is not a replacement for individual therapy. This is in no way intended to be individual therapy for an individual. This is really just some thoughts and musings that you can apply to your day-to-day life and some things to reflect on and consider. So with that being said, enjoy today's topic. So the topic today is, what even is self-worth? Let's define self-worth to begin with, especially since this podcast is literally called the Self-Worth Renaissance. We really need to do some defining here. So self-worth is the knowing sense that you belong where you are and you have respect for yourself as a person. It is the knowledge that no matter your circumstances, you have actual inherent value. Self-worth is something that does not fluctuate. Like, we make a mistake, we still have self-worth. We have great success, our self-worth is not tied to that success. It is the simple knowing that I am enough. I can take up space. And it's also the belief that no matter what I encounter in life, I can trust my gut and my intuition to make the right choices for me, not for anyone else, for me. I don't have to shift who I am to make someone else happy. I get to ground in and trust myself, which sometimes our choices don't always make other people happy. I'm sure we've all experienced that. So self-worth is kind of this radical acceptance of who we are and accepting our strengths with our weaknesses. So I'm going to just share a little bit about my own story. I have a strength of kindness and making other people feel really comfortable. I'm really good at knowing what people need and anticipating what they're feeling. However, there's kind of a shadow side to that and a weakness, and that I really struggle to identify how I feel in a scenario. And that can often lead to something called self-abandonment. And if you've ever self-abandoned for the sake of others and their own well-being to the detriment of your own, you know just how painful this feels. At first, it feels like anxiety growing over time, and then the anxiety becomes too much, and we start to get depressed because the anxiety is a lot, and now we're trying to numb out. And then our bodies will try to find this kind of homeostasis, and we kind of get to this place where we're erratically shifting between hyper and hypo states of kind of anxiety or numbness. And hyper and hypo, that's kind of referring to something called your window of tolerance that we'll talk more about in a different episode. But the way I like to simply explain it is imagine two kids on a teeter-totter, you're always going back and forth. And your body can express this self-abandonment in some funny, or maybe not so funny, ways, such as long-term physical illness and mental health conditions that increase over time. So my story aside, which I'll probably go into more as time goes on, we need to explore some of the ways why self-worth is inhibited in our culture and where that comes from, and why self-abandonment might be something that feels easy. So self-worth is actually inherently felt by babies when they are born. For the most part, we all come out crying unless something really traumatic happened. And we know that we can take up space. We can advocate for ourselves, and we can use our voice, and we can be less than easy to be around. Especially if you're a mom listening to this, you know that. Each of us, with the exception of those who might have experienced a wound to self-worth in the womb, such as a mom who was using substances, we were all born with self-worth. So where do we lose this? So the answer is a really complicated one, and one that is impacted by lots of factors. Since this podcast focuses mainly on women, though, we're going to look at self-worth and how it's impacted by Western culture, styles of parenting, and the expectations that are put on women by patriarchal structures. So first, let's look at Western culture. From a young age, we are inundated with ads that are built by a patriarchal system that values women based on their appearance. And isn't it interesting that the appearance that is valued is one that is near impossible for women to achieve? So we keep spending money on these pills, these creams, these supplements to try to achieve this appearance of the woman who is photoshopped. And let's be real, probably works with 2 personal trainers and a dietitian every day. These women are slaves to the system, and they're manipulative tools that young little girls take in every day. And of course, I am talking in broad strokes. Please know that I don't think that of every single person that is part of this system. And I'm painting a picture here. Please know that. So with the advent of social media, there's a new side of the attack on self-worth. Suddenly, not only is it the appearance that determines my self-worth, but my status in society, my wealth, the trips that I can take. If you're listening to this podcast, my guess is that you have done minimal, if any, international travel. My guess is that you're just grateful you made rent this month. So we combine this messaging from culture that if we aren't wealthy, beautiful, thin, and quote-unquote demure and mindful, we don't have worth or a voice to use in our culture. And with parents, that probably internalize some shame within their own understanding of self. So consider this, we have needs as children. Maybe we're crying because we felt left out, or we're really sad because we didn't get that toy we wanted, or, oh man, we're sobbing because dad has to go back to work and isn't available, right? Instead of being allowed to feel that sadness, to feel the pain, we're told that there is something wrong with us. Our inherent needs are wrong. Our feelings, which we all have, unless you're a sociopath, and that's okay too. But our feelings are told we're told we're wrong. And we begin to doubt our self-worth and that our needs are too much. Now, how is this little girl supposed to press forward in her self-worth when she's being pressed in on all sides? I'll tell you, it's near impossible. I genuinely think the teen years for most women are hard because of not only the hormones, but because they're fighting a battle for self-worth. And my guess is if you are tuning into this because you lost the battle of self-worth and you're looking to reclaim that self-worth later in life. And I'm guessing your lack of self-worth has gotten you into some undesirable situations. If you were to continue to believe that you have no self-worth or that there's no hope, you would likely just stop there. You turn the podcast off and go wallow in self-pity further. But if you do believe you are worthy, that there are at least parts of you that are worthy, then you are on the right track. So here's my challenge to you this week. What would it look like to make one choice for yourself in the coming week that honors what you need, who you are? Could it be as simple as making a meal for yourself that you enjoy? Could it be turning off the phone for an hour and going outside? Could it be deciding to set boundaries with a loved one to maintain the relationship? Could it be as simple as taking a shower and washing your hair because it's been a few days? I don't know what that thing is for you, but I would encourage you to do it. Prove to that little girl that she's worthy of being loved and cared for. Take the action for her that no one did for her. I promise you're not going to regret it.